بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين، صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي، فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وضرب الله مثلا للذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون إذ قالت رب ابن لي عندك بيتا في الجنة ونجني من فرعون ونجني من القوم الظالمين. ومريم ابنة عمران التي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين. For the love of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein and his holy household, صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. The movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is perhaps the greatest movement in history. A revolution that grows in number year after year. A movement that attracts more and more people as time passes. And this is indeed a sign of success. Because usually when you see revolutions, you see movements, you see that they fade away. A revolution might probably bring millions of people to the street, but then within a few months, within a few years, within a few decades, the revolution and the heat that it brings dies down. But Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, his movement grows stronger and stronger year after year. Now, the first reason for this is the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, there is divine intervention. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam rose for the sake of God. This is why we say, Assalamu alayka ya thar Allah. They're revolutionaries. They rise for their own principles, for their own reasons. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, the reason he rose and the reason he sacrificed everything that he had was for the sake of Allah. Assalamu alayka ya thar Allah wabna tharih. And when there's divine intervention, then that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to be blessed and remembered and eternalized will never die down. Allah says in the Quran, يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَيَأْبَى اللَّهُ إِلَّا أَن يُتِمَّ نُورَهُ. They try to extinguish the light of God with their words that they utter, but the light of God can never be extinguished. And Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He rose for God and he was sent by God, and he's the grandson of the messenger of God. So this is one reason why Imam al-Hussein's movement is very successful. The second reason, my dear brothers and sisters, is because Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was very strategic. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he made sure that every single movement, every single decision that he makes on the day of Ashura and leading up to the day of Ashura was a strategic and strategized decision, a studied decision that will keep his legacy and his memory and his principles alive. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, some of the features of the movement of Imam al-Hussein, the revolution of Imam al-Hussein, was that there was no oppression. Today you might find revolutions, you might find movements. They rise for one cause, but they neglect all the other causes. That ends up causing oppression, that ends up causing neglect. And this is why we see movements, they die down quickly. Another reason why some movements and revolutions, they die down is because they're non-inclusive. They don't include everyone. They're only for one elite group. They're representing one particular group and segment of society. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, you see the camp of Imam al-Hussein is very representative of all of Muslims and all of the needs of Muslims. You have the young and the old and the free man and the black and the white and the Arab and the non-Arab. And from amongst those that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam insisted on bringing were the women in his household. We mentioned yesterday the importance of family. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, just like the prophets, they did not only see the importance of family just for self-pleasure and it's beautiful having your kids and having a wife and having children, having them. No, the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, they saw that having a family not only brings personal pleasure and satisfaction at a personal level, but they also saw that through their family, through their children, through their wives, through those who are surrounding them in their family, they can deliver the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what the prophets were all about. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he took his family with him on the day of Ashura. And many people, including some who were related to Imam al-Hussein, Ibn Abbas, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, they come to Imam al-Hussein and they tell him, you're going, we know what's going to happen. Rasulullah already told us that you're going to go and you're going to be killed in a land by the name of Karbala. This was something that all the Muslims knew. However, they tell him, then why are you taking the women and the children with you? You're going towards martyrdom, towards shahada. That's one thing. We can't say anything to you. Why are you going? Sha Allah an yarani qatila. Allah has destined that I am qatil, that I'm killed. Then why are you taking the women and the children with you? Ibn Abbas. Imam al-Hussein replies to Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas, Sha Allah an yarahunna sabaya. Allah has destined that for the religion of Islam to survive, for the message of Imam al-Hussein to thrive, that the women and the children of Imam al-Hussein are taken as captives from city to city through that long, difficult journey. Because that is the only way the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam will be able to reach millions of people and billions of people as it has reached it today. So it was no accident that Imam al-Hussein brought his family with him. It was all planned. It was all strategized. And Imam al-Hussein knew of the plan, and the women and the children with Imam al-Hussein, they all knew of the plan. And the leader of those women was the Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. She knew exactly what was going on. And she spoke of it on the day of Ashura and the day after Ashura, and in her words and in her actions, you could tell that Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam was a strong, resilient woman who was in on the plan. It was no accident that Zainab ended up being with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So now, my dear brothers and sisters, this brings us to a very important topic and discussion. One is, what was the role of the woman with Imam al-Hussein, the woman of Karbala? What role? Did they have a role? Was it an accident that they were there? Of course, they had a very important role. What was that role? And second, to bring us to take lessons from the story of Imam al-Hussein, and for us to all be on that journey to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, we have to ask this important question. What is the role of the woman in our community right now? What is the role of the woman in our society right now? How are men treating women, and how are women perceiving themselves? Are they giving themselves that role that Sayyidah Zainab and Kulthum and Rabab and the women and the children of Imam al-Hussein had? Or are they isolating themselves? Because today, unfortunately, we see, and even in the most progressive societies, societies that talk about democracy and we're progressive and we're giving women the rights, you see even in these societies, you see that a lady is simplified and minimized to her body and her looks. That's all. Go and look at the cosmetic industry, billion-dollar industry, billions of dollars. Go and look at the entertainment industry. The focus is not about the identity and the personality of a female, but rather on her looks. This is the discussion around women. Right now, if you turn on the news, right now you turn on a movie, whatever it is, you see most of the discussion right now in the news, it's about, in America, they're talking about abortion. I don't know if that's a hot topic here. And they're talking about gender, the female body. They're talking about the clothing. They're talking about all these things that are surrounding the looks and the beautification, the appearance of a woman. There's no discussion on the personality. Even a lady who is, for example, accomplished, even a lady who is into politics or has achieved much, the first thing they talk about when they mention her is what kind of dress she was wearing, what kind of outfit, or how she looks, and all of these things. This is the focus. And unfortunately, this is also within some of our communities, members. Today, right now, when some of the brothers, they want to get married, they ask them, what do you want in a woman? What do you want in a wife? They say, she has to look good. That's the first thing on their mind. Now, this is not haram. This is not wrong to have that. But it shows that we have simplified and we have reduced women. Society has reduced women to these things. They ask a guy, what do you want in a woman? He says she has to look good and she has to cook the excellent biryani. That's all. Now, when we look at the prophets, when we look at the imams of the Ahlul Bayt, when they were choosing their spouse, they would be futuristic. They would look ahead. They would see the qualities and the characteristics. We know why Amir al-Mu'mineen chose al-Banin. He chose al-Banin because he was being futuristic. He was looking for a lady that can have children, and not just have children, but raise and discipline these children so that they could be with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. This is al-Banin. And this was what was different in al-Banin than the others. Amir al-Mu'mineen has another son, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya. Why did he not join Imam al-Hussein? There were other sons of Ali ibn Abi Talib that did not join, but the sons of al-Banin, they did join Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Why? Because they were raised, because they were disciplined. And here is where Islam comes and it sheds light and it highlights the role of a lady, not just as a beauty object or simplified to the looks and the body, but rather a lady that is the mother of society. In a beautiful quote, I read, it says that the women, they represent half of society and they raise the other half of society. That means the lady, she is representative of all of society. Today, if you want to see how successful, how thriving a society is, look at how women are treated. Are they reduced to just their bodies and their looks, or are they treated and empowered for who they are supposed to be. The religion of Islam says that a lady is supposed to have a great, significant role in community and society. And this is precisely why the religion of Islam has mandated the hijab. The hijab is to remove the attention from the looks, remove the attention from the beauty and the glamour and the appearances, and focus on the personality and the identity of an individual. This is the role of the hijab. But today, they flip things around and they've come and they say the hijab is to minimize and limit and not allow women to reach their highest potential in community and society. No, the hijab does exactly the opposite. The hijab allows a lady and allows men in society as well to reach their highest potential, so that they're not limited to just looking at the appearances. And here we see that if the women in a community, in a society are successful, meaning that they have their iman is protected, their intellect is protected, their modesty is protected, they're given the role that they are deserving of, their God-given role, then you see society will prosper. Then you see society will be successful. But if women are reduced to just the beauty and the simplistic ideas that some Western and Eastern cultures have of women, then a lady is never going to be able to progress herself, and she's never going to be able to raise a society and raise children and generations that are also progressing. And the role of the female is very important, because the female, she's the first teacher. She's the first mother. She's the one who will raise the children. Today, a lot of the brothers, a lot of the men, they don't spend time, which is wrong, of course. They don't spend as much time with their children as the mother does. And it's only natural. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it so that the mother, she is the one who's pregnant. The mother, she is the one who's nursing the child. So naturally, the first few years of a child's life, they spend more time with their mother. That means they're influenced and they're impacted by their mother more. And this is a very important sacred role, the role of nurturing and providing and giving for a child. Child weaning, this is very important. Today, this is undermined in some societies, where you see some, they give birth and then they have the child be raised by someone else. Now, everyone has their own circumstances. We don't want to judge what other people are going through. Sometimes some people, they have to work. You can't judge people. However, Islam teaches us that even the process of suckling and feeding, for a lady to feed her own child, that in itself is sacred. That in itself is something that is healthier for the lady and healthier for the child. So, the role of a mother, the role of a wife, the role of a lady, this is very important. And this is why we see the Quran gives us beautiful examples. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us the significant role of a lady, the significant role of the mother, that even that if the lady is corrupted, if the lady is not fit and not qualified to raise children, and she doesn't have the iman, the children will fail, even if the head of the household is a prophet of Allah. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, he's a prophet of God. He's a prophet appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Prophet Nuh ended up losing his own son. قال إنه ليس من أهلك إنه عمل غير صالح. Why? Because the mother in the household was not qualified to lead. The mother in the household did not have the iman. And Allah has given this as an example. وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا امْرَأَةَ نُوحٍ وَامْرَأَةَ لُوطٍ. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us another example. The head of the household might be a kafir. The head of the household might be Fir'aun. But if the mother, if the lady in the house is an honorable lady, a faithful lady, then she will be able to raise a prophet like Musa alayhi salam. Asiyah bint Muzahim, she's not the biological mother of Musa alayhi salam, But Prophet Musa spent much of his childhood under her care and under her supervision. And she is the one who saved his life. So it shows you that even if the father is a man like Fir'aun, but if you have a mother like Asiyah bint Muzahim, a mother who's God-fearing and God-believing, then you will be able to raise healthy children, healthy in iman, healthy in taqwa. And Allah says this in the verse that I began with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us an example. وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا in Surah Al-Tahrim. وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا امْرَأَةَ فِرْعَوْنَ إِذْ قَالَتْ رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ وَنَجِّنِي مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِهِ وَنَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Allah has given an example, لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, to all the believers. What is that example? امرأة فرعون, the wife of Pharaoh. Why? إِذْ قَالَتْ رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Oh Allah, I don't want this palace. I don't want this mansion. I don't want all of the luxury life. Give me one house in paradise. ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ وَنَجِّنِي مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِهِ. And save me from Pharaoh and the tyranny of Pharaoh. وَنَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. And save me from the oppressors. And another example. وَمَرْيَمَ ابْنَةَ عِمْرَانَ الَّتِي أَحْصَنَتْ فَرْجَهَا. And Maryam, the daughter of Imran, who protected her modesty and her chastity. التي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيه من روحنا. And we blew in her womb. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made her pregnant through a miraculous way. وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين. And she accepted the books of Allah and the words of God. وكانت من القانتين. And she was from those who does qunut. These two women, they have become an example for all believers. Allah says, وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Today, oftentimes when there's a discussion about women, or if there's a female speaker invited to speak, they tell her you only talk to the women and only talk about women issues. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying these ladies, they're examples of what? They're examples for who? وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They're examples for all the believers, men or women. And there are three main roles that are highlighted in the lives of these ladies. The first is the wife of Pharaoh, and that is an example of jihad. وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا امْرَأَةَ فِرْعَوْنَ إِذْ قَالَتْ رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. She had the audacity to stand against Pharaoh. Fir'aun, who was claiming to be God, he was ordering people to worship him. His wife, she said, I don't believe in you. I believe in Allah. And I want a house with Allah in paradise. So this is an example of jihad. Today, oftentimes you don't see the role of jihad and the role of speaking truth to power highlighted with women. When they talk about jihad, when they talk about bravery, usually that is associated with men. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that example with a lady who had the audacity to stand against the leader of her time. And this is one of the most important roles that a lady could have, that is often undermined in our communities and in our societies. And that is the role of speaking against injustice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this in Surah At-Tawbah. Allah says in the Quran, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And the believers, men and women, they are awliya. They support one another. They both enjoin the good. They both forbid the evil. They both stand for prayer. They both fulfill the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here we see that one of the most important roles of a lady is to stand against injustice. She can't come and say, oh, I'm a lady, let's leave this up to the men. No, you have, if there's amr bil ma'roof and nahi anil munkar, and of course amr bil ma'roof and nahi anil munkar is wajib, it's an obligation. Some people, they say, let the sheikh, let the sayyid, That's the job of the leaders of the community. They have to do amr bil ma'ruf and nahy al munkar. Who said that? It's an obligation upon every single individual in community and society. It's one of the 10 furu' ad-din. So this is one role that is highlighted in these verses that were recited. A second role is the role of modesty and chastity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Maryam. Allah says, وَمَرْيَمَ ابْنَةَ عِمْرَانَ الَّتِي أَحْصَنَتْ فَرْجَهَا. Maryam protected her modesty and her chastity. And today, some people, they have a false impression that if a lady is practicing modesty and chastity and wearing the hijab, then she's never going to be able to be someone who's achieving in society and community. She's never going to be able to reach her highest potential. And this is wrong. This is a wrong mentality. Because if someone is limiting you, or if you are limiting yourself based on the looks, then that means you're doing yourself an injustice. And if you're working in a place, in an environment that does not allow you to be who you are, that wants to measure you by your looks, and you have to reveal your hair and reveal your body, then that is a place that is not worth for you to work in. That is a place that is not worth for you to spend your time and invest your efforts and give your life and your effort in a place that does not appreciate you for who you are. Today, they come and they tell women, we are liberating you. We are giving you the freedom and the liberty, but we're giving you liberty to reveal your body. We're not giving you liberty to cover up. Like what they did in France a few days ago. France, they had already banned the hijab. Now they want to ban the modest clothing. If a lady is wearing a loose garment, the abaya, then this is also illegal. And this is a society that claims to be progressive, a society that claims to give women their rights. Look how they're treating women. And believe me, if a lady goes out probably not wearing anything, they would clap for her. They won't have any issue with it. But if she is wearing modest, loose clothing, then they come and they make laws and they fine them. They fine them. I know a person who went to France and they were fined 500 euros because they were practicing the modest hijab. So here, the issue of modesty, some people have that misconception that you cannot reach your highest potential. This is not true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of the highest achieving woman, the highest achieving of all ladies, and they were all ladies that were practicing modesty and chastity. Another misconception when it comes to hijab, and this is a lot of people, they think that a lot of the men, they think that hijab is only for women. That hijab is not for them. Hijab does not apply to them. Some people, they come and they say the day you're talking about hijab, tell me so I don't have to come. This is a topic for the women. This is not true. Hijab is for both men and women. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mandated it for all of society. Men have a type of hijab, women have a type of hijab. Every person in the community has to practice hijab. And this is why Allah, when He talks about Maryam, Allah says, وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Maryam is an example for all of the believers. She's not an example only for the woman. So hijab is an obligation upon all and upon both men and women. Yes, there are different types of hijab, but the general meaning of hijab, the general meaning of modesty is an obligation upon all. And the third lesson and role that we see of a lady that is highlighted in these verses is the role of ibadah, the role of worship. When Allah talks about Maryam, Allah describes Maryam, وَكَانَتْ مِنَ الْقَانِتِينَ, and she was from those who does qunut. She was from those who pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Maryam, يَا مَرْيَمُ اقْنُتِي وَاسْجُدِي وَارْكَعِي مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. Maryam was so pure, she entered into the temple. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the angel spoke to her and Allah spoke to her. وَإِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَاكِ وَطَهَّرَكِ وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ. And then Allah tells her, يَا مَرْيَمُ اقْنُتِي واسجدي اقنتي لربك واسجدي واركعي مع الراكعين. Go and do ruku' and do qunut and do sujood with those who are praying. A lady's spirituality cannot be limited. And this is what will give the lady, and men of course, everyone, you need spirituality to attain that strength to deal with the difficulties and challenges in society. And my dear brothers and sisters, we talked about three main roles: the role of jihad, the role of hijab, and the role of ibadah. And we see that these three main roles, they were standing out in the women of Karbala, in the women of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You see Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam, she accomplished all of these roles: her ibadah, her modesty, and her jihad. And you see this also followed through in her daughter Sayyidah Zainab, and in Kulthum, and in the women and the children of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. You see, Imam al-Hussein, not only the women of his family, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, you know, if you live your life in such a way and you have such a great impact on people around you, you will impact those who are around you. And this is how Imam al-Hussein did not just bring his family and his children. There were individuals that were so motivated by Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam that they changed their lives. And inshallah, we ask Allah to motivate us and make this aza and these majalis that we're holding inspire us to change our lives. Because there were people who just saw Imam al-Hussein and they didn't change their lives. Maybe they cried for Imam al-Hussein as well. You know, they say some of the enemies of Imam al-Hussein cried for him as well, but they didn't change their lives. So which one am I going to be? Am I going to be the one who cries and hears about the story of Imam al-Hussein and does not change my life, or am I going to change my life? Am I going to have practical measures that make me a better person? Maybe change comes slowly, but at least we have to take the initiative. At least we have to take small steps towards that change that puts us on the path to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and living that Husseini lifestyle. Look at Imam al-Hussein and the women who are with him. We'll begin with some of the ladies who were not from the family, and then we will move on to the family of Imam al-Hussein. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn became the commander of the right flank of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Habib ibn Mudahir was the commander of the left flank, and Zuhair ibn al-Qayn was the commander of the right flank. And Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and the family, they were in the middle. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, there was a chance that he does not attend Karbala and he does not join Imam al-Hussein. He says, I had performed the Hajj and we were traveling back to Iraq with Imam al-Hussein. He says, I would try to avoid Imam al-Hussein. They would try to avoid Imam al-Hussein. When Imam al-Hussein's caravan is moving, Zuhair would camp. When he moves, Imam al-Hussein is camping. He says they happen to be in a particular location, in a same place. And Imam al-Hussein, he is Safinatun Najat. Imam al-Hussein, he is the ark of salvation and the beacon of light. Imam al-Hussein did not want fighters. Imam al-Hussein wanted people that change their hearts, that people to change their lives and their ways. So he reaches out to Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. He sends him a letter, and the man comes, the messenger comes, and he brings a letter to Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. He tells him, this is a letter from al-Hussein ibn Ali. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, he takes it, and he doesn't do anything. He stays sitting. His wife, Daylam, she tells him, "Oh Zuhair, what is this?" He tells her, this is a letter from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. She tells him, then go, what are you doing? He was still sitting. She tells him, the grandson of Rasulullah is calling upon you and you're still here? Go, see what he wants. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, he goes, he speaks with Imam al-Hussein for a few minutes. He comes back and he tells her, we are joining the caravan of Imam al-Hussein. If it was not for his wife, who knows where Zuhair would have been? Zuhair would not have been from those companions and Ansar of Imam al-Hussein that are remembered every year. And there were many other women that played a very important role. Muslim ibn Aqil, when he's in Kufa, all the men and everyone, they shut their doors in front of him But this honorable lady, Taw'ah, she opens her door and she welcomes Muslim ibn Aqil. You see, some of these women with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, they were not from the Ahl al-Bayt. Perhaps they had met Imam al-Hussein just a few days before Ashura. They had heard about Imam al-Hussein. They didn't know much about Imam al-Hussein. They were not from the family. But they were inspired by Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. A lady, she would come and she would tell her husband or she would tell her son, go and fight in the way of Aba Abdullah. One lady, she comes and she loses her son. She loses her husband. And then she comes and she brings her son in front of Imam al-Hussein, her young son, who's barely able to carry a sword. And Imam al-Hussein, he says, send him back. Send him back to his mother. He has just lost his father. Let her mother, we don't want his mother to lose the husband and the son in one day. The young child begins to cry. And he says, Ya Aba Abdullah, Inna ummi hiya allati albasatni la'matu harbi. My mother, she's the one who put on the armor for me and she sent me to you. And he goes out and he begins, because he was raised by his mother, he begins to say, Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir, sururu fu'ad al-bashir al-nadhir. Everyone, they come and they say what their name is. This man, he says, I don't want to tell you who my name is. This is why we don't know his name. In the Maqtal, they don't mention his name. They say, a young boy whose father was killed in the battlefield. Why? Because he came out saying, my master is Hussein, and what a great master. This is the discipline of a mother, my dear brothers and sisters. This is what mothers could do. Your mother could raise you to be like these important individuals who gave everything they had, or a mother could also raise those who ended up being the enemies of Imam al-Hussein. Now, you see the women who were with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. These women from the family of Imam al-Hussein. There were many women. You know, these after Ashura, they say about over 80 kids and women and children, they were in that caravan going to Kufa. Of course, by the time they reached Sham and by the time they made it back to Karbala, it was only the smaller circle, only the family of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. The other women, they went back to their families. And this is what made it difficult for the women of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. Because now they saw that even the other women who were with them, they went back to their families, but Zainab has no family. Kulthum has no family. They have no men to come and say, these are our women, these are our honor, that we will protect them, because all of the men have been killed. From amongst these women who were with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, perhaps the greatest role was played by a Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. Sayyidah Zainab, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, he tells her, Ya Ammah, Anti bihamdillah alimah ghair mu'allamah. Oh my aunt, you are by the praise of God, alimah. You're a knowledgeable person and you're not given that knowledge. Meaning you know what you need to do. You know what is the decision, what the right decision. And this is why some scholars, they talk about the discussion of Zainab having asmat al-sughra, the minor, asma, the minor infallibility. Zainab alayhi salam, she was known as Aqilat Bani Hashim, the leading woman, the leading Aqil, meaning the aql, the intellect of Bani Hashim. And when she used to speak, they describe her كأنها تفرغ عن لسان أمير المؤمنين علي ibn Abi Talib. When they heard her speaking in Kufa and they heard her speaking in Sham, they don't know who this lady is. She's wearing modesty, she's wearing hijab, but when they hear her speak, it's as if they hear Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib speaking with that eloquence that she had. From amongst the first places where Zainab revealed that eloquence and that power that she had was when she was in the chains, tied up, as the family of Imam al-Hussein were being brought into Kufa. The family of Imam al-Hussein, they're being brought in Kufa. And imagine this, you have heads on the spears, and you have orphans, and you have the family, they're tied up, and the people of Kufa, they're watching. Some of them are laughing, some of them are crying as they see this, and they enter the family of Imam al-Hussein into the market. And the market has sounds. There's loud sounds and there's chaos going on. The hadith says, أَوْمَأَتْ إِلَى النَّاسِ أَنْ اسْكُتُوا. She signaled to people to be quiet. فَهَدَأَتِ الْأَنْفَاسِ وَسَكَتَتِ الْأَجْرَاسِ. Everyone became dead silent, and even the bells, they had bells on the cattle, even the bells went silent when Zainab signaled. Look at this power that Zainab has over the masses, where she made everyone be quiet. And then she tells them, Ya Ahl al-Kufa, Ya Ahl al-Khatli wal-Ghadr, Atabkun? O people of Kufa, O people of betrayal, now you're crying? Atabkun? فلا رقأت الدمعة ولا هدأت الرنة. May you be crying forever. You have called my brother Hussein, and look how you have treated us, and look what you did to Hussein. Then she goes in front of Ibn Ziyad, and then in front of Yazid, and in front of Yazid, she gave that eloquent sermon, that eloquent khutbah, where she shook the foundations of his throne. And she tells Yazid, أَمِنَ الْعَدْلِ يَبْنَ الطُّلَقَاءِ. Is it justice, O son of the freed slaves? أَمِنَ الْعَدْلِ يَبْنَ الطُّلَقَاءِ تَخْدِيرُكَ حَرَائِرُكَ وَإِمَاؤُكَ وَسَوْقُكَ بَنَاتِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ سَبَايَا. Is it justice, O son of the freed slaves, that you cover up your women and your slaves, and you bring the children and the daughters of Rasulullah as sabaya across the Muslim land? Look at the power of Zainab alayhi salam. And then she tells him, listen, O Yazid, you are not even worthy of a lady like me speaking to you. You are not worthy. وَكَيْفَ يُرْتَجَى مُرَاقَبَةُ مَنْ لَفَظَ فُوهُ أَكْبَادُ الْأَسْكِيَاءِ. She says, you are the grandson, you are the son of those who your ancestors, your grandmother ate from the liver of the askiya, of the pious. You're not worthy of Zainab speaking to you. However, the destiny has brought us in front of you. Otherwise, you are not even worthy of this discussion to be had with you. This was Zainab alayhi salam. Another from the women of Karbala was the sister of Zainab. And sometimes in the historians, they confuse between Zainab and Kulthum. Sometimes Kulthum is also referred to as Zainab al-Sughra, the younger Zainab. But Kulthum, she played a very important role with Imam al-Hussein, with her sister Sayyidah Zainab. In Kufa, she spoke, and in numerous occasions, she had a role. They say that when they brought the family of Imam al-Hussein into Kufa, the people of Kufa, they started giving walnuts and dates to the children. And she goes and she takes the food out of the mouths of the children, and she tells them, Ya Ahl al-Kufa, inna sadaqa alayna haram. Sadaqa is haram upon us. They ask them, Ayyul usara antum? Who are you? Who says sadaqa is haram upon us? Which usara, which captives are you? She replies, Nahnu usara ali Muhammad. We are the captives of Al Muhammad. We are the family of Rasulullah. And this lady, Kulthum, she was the wife of Aun, the son of Ja'far al-Tayyar. Ja'far had two sons. One, Abdullah, who married Zainab, and the second was Aun, who married Kulthum. And today they come and they say Kulthum married Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second Khalifa. This is fabrications. And you know, they tried to fabricate a lot of these events and distort events in history to give others a better image. Kulthum never married Umar ibn al-Khattab. In fact, even her age, she was too young and he was too old. She wouldn't have even become at the age of marriage to marry Umar ibn al-Khattab. So this is something that is not accepted. And then there were other women who were with Imam al-Hussein. From the wives of Imam al-Hussein, Al-Rabab, we mentioned that she was there, and she's the mother of Abdullah al-Radi' and the mother of Sukayna. And from the other wives, another wife by the name of Ishaq. Ishaq, she used to be the wife of Imam al-Hasan. After the martyrdom of Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Hussein married her. And this was one of the ways of the Ahl al-Bayt, where they would order another person of the Ahl al-Bayt to marry the woman, so that the woman, if they were honorable, so that they are not married off and they leave the family of the family of the Ahl Bayt. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he also had several wives, and he told several people from his extended family to marry them before he passes away, so that these women, they stay within the family. Because at that time, a lady is going to get married. A lady cannot stay unmarried for long periods of time. So Imam al-Hussein married her, and she was the mother of Fatima al-Sughra. Fatima al-Sughra, who also spoke on the days after Ashura. There's another wife of Imam al-Hussein who is often remembered, and there's a discussion whether she was in Karbala or she was not, and that was Layla, the mother of Ali al-Akbar. Some say she was not in Karbala because there's no proof to suggest that she was. But even if there's nothing that suggests that she was, we also don't have proof that she wasn't. Imam al-Hussein, when he left, he took his women and his children and the wives with him. There was another wife, of course, of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and this is Shahr Banu, the mother of Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, who passed away in her nifas, meaning soon after she gave birth to Imam Zayn al-Abidin, she passed away, and she did not survive after delivering Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam. So these were the women. And Sukaina, of course, was with Imam al-Hussein. Sukaina, according to historians, her name is Amina, and she was a little bit older. She was probably a teenager, and she also spoke on the day of Ashura, and she spoke in the events after Ashura. These were the women and the children of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. They entered and they brought them from Karbala to Kufa, and from Kufa all the way to Damascus. Of course, the family of Imam al-Hussein, they could have went straight directly from Kufa to Damascus, but they didn't. They could have just traveled west across the desert from Kufa all the way to Damascus. But they intended to humiliate the family of Imam al-Hussein, so they took them across every single city. They went north. So they traveled through Iraq, through Mosul and Tikrit. They entered parts of Turkey, and then they come down in Syria, and they also make it in Lebanon, and then back to Damascus. So they purposely paraded the family of Imam al-Hussein across all of the Muslim empire and the Muslim land. Some places, as soon as people find out this is the family of Imam al-Hussein, they would curse Yazid and turn against Yazid. But there was one place that was particularly very difficult for the family of Imam al-Hussein, and that was when they entered into Sham. Why? Because Sham, for 40 years, they have been fed the propaganda against the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. One of the narrators, one of the companions of Rasulullah, Sahl ibn Sa'd al-Sa'idi, he says, I went to Bayt al-Maqdis, I went to Jerusalem, and then I entered into Sham. He said, I saw Sham was decorated. It looked like there's a parade. It looks like there's a decoration. So he said, I asked myself, أَلِأَهْلِ الشَّامِ عِيدٌ لَا نَعْرِفُهُ نَحْنُ. Is there a Eid that we don't know about in Sham? Is there an Islamic Eid that we don't know about? Because it's not Eid time. It's not Ramadan. It's not any time of Eid. So he says, I asked, and they tell me the head of Hussein ibn Ali will be brought into Sham today. He said, I asked, from which direction is the head going to be brought in? They tell him from Babu Sa'at, from the direction of Babu Sa'at. He says, I went there waiting, and as I see a caravan approach, and I see a head that resembled the head of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, with the wind playing with the beard of Imam al-Hussein as it is approaching, and the family and the caravan of Imam al-Hussein is moving slowly closer and closer into Sham. He says, I saw one of the daughters of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. I go to her, I tell her, Ana Sahl ibn Sa'd al-Sa'idi, I am Sahl ibn Sa'd, I am from those who saw your grandfather Rasulullah. is there anything I can do for you? She tells me, Ya Sahl, do you have some money? He tells her, yes, I have money. What can I do with it? She tells him, give the soldier some money so that he takes the head away from away from the family of Imam al-Hussein, so that people, they focus on looking at the head instead of the woman of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. He said, Imam Zain al-Abidin also asked me, he tells me, do you have a piece of cloth? Do you have something to give me? He said, I took out a piece of cloth. Imam Zain al-Abidin, he had the metal shackles on his neck, and it was attached to the hands and the shoulder of his aunt Zainab. When he removed that metal, when he raised it, the blood, fresh blood, began to flow from the neck of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. They take the family of Imam al-Hussein and the people of Sham, they start ridiculing them, they start yelling at them. It was said that one lady, she took a rock and she threw it at the head of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. The family of Imam al-Hussein, they go into the palace of Yazid. Yazid, the wife of Yazid, she hears the words of Zainab when Zainab delivers her sermon in the palace of Yazid. Hind, the wife of Yazid, this lady, she was raised in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen. She was a servant of Zainab and a servant of Amir al-Mu'mineen back in the day, back in Kufa. So she heard this lady speaking. She asked the ladies around her, go and find out who this lady is. They come back to her, they tell her, oh Hind, this is Zainab ibnatu Ali. This is Zainab, the granddaughter of Rasulullah. Hind, she comes out running in the palace, in the court of Yazid. Yazid, he feels the shame and he comes and he tries to cover her so that people do not see his wife. She tells him, oh Yazid, have you no shame? You bring the daughters of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi in front of the masses, and you are afraid that people are going to see your own family. Then Hind, she goes to Zainab and she tells her, oh Zainab, is that you? You are Zainab, the honorable daughter of Ali. Zainab begins to tell her, Ya Hind, khan ad-dahr bina, abuna nadhbah wa ihna nsibina. Oh Hind, do you know what has happened to us? Our father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, was killed. Imam al-Hussein was killed, and this is where we have come. The hadith says, one night Hind, as they brought the head of Imam al-Hussein, when they brought the head of Imam al-Hussein in front of Yazid, Yazid was playing chess and he would drink. And the hadith says when he gets upset, when he loses, he would throw this drink, he would throw it and spill it near the head of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So his wife, she took the head and she cleansed it and she purified it and she washed the head of Imam al-Hussein. That night she saw Fatima al-Zahra in her dream. And Fatima al-Zahra was thanking her for showing that respect to the head of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. This is why whenever we remember Imam al-Hussein, we give condolences to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Da'bil al-Khuza'i, when he sees Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, he begins, أفاطم ولو خلت الحسين مجدلا وقد مات عطشانا بشط فراتي. أفاطم إذا للطمت الخد فاطم عنده وأجريت دمع العين بالوجنات. أفاطم قومي يا ابنة الخير واندبي نجوم سماوات بأرض فلاتي. Oh Fatima, if you were to see Hussein and the martyrs with Hussein, you would have slapped your face. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم، يا الله يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب، ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات، إنك مجيب الدعوات، إنك غافر الخطيئات، إنك على كل شيء قدير. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلوات.